Hey guys, so I wanted to talk about a very simple thing that you can do, very effective thing that you can do. If you realize that you're looking at your 3D situation in a way that you shouldn't be, that you know isn't in alignment with what you want to be or what you want to have manifest. This is a really simple thing. It goes in line with Neville. It goes in line. This is a course in miracles thing. And I have been doing this. I briefly was studying A Course in Miracles about 20 years ago, and it was just way above my pay grade. I couldn't make a lot of sense of it in the way that now when I read stuff, it makes perfect sense because of the experience that I've had in the meantime, last 20 years. But there's one gem, life-changing thing that I got out of that experience with studying it 20 years ago. And it was that a shift in perception, a shift in your perspective is the definition of a miracle because it changes everything. And this is Neville. A shift in your mind changes everything and opens all the doors. It lets you see things that you didn't see before. You might view something in your life differently to the point that you realize you already have the thing you want. That's the most mind-blowing thing. I swear to God it happens. It doesn't seem like it could, but you can have a shift that makes you realize that you already have the thing you think you desperately want. It totally mind-blowing. But it also allows you to have different thoughts. Literally, different thoughts will show up in your mind. You will see a way to the thing that you want or a solution to the problem you have that you just didn't see before. It just didn't occur to you. And this shit is crazy. And it's like when you start to rely on this, it just makes you able to live your life in such a effective way that I don't know how people get by not doing this. And basically what it is when you realize you're looking at something wrong, and you can tell when you're looking at something wrong because you feel like shit. It makes you upset or fearful or anxious, or it makes you think you're not going to get what, it gives you negative thoughts or a negative expectancy. All you have to do, literally, and you might have to do this a few times, but all you have to do is stop and recognize what's happening and then ask your higher self to allow you to see it the right way, or God. I think I'm not sure who exactly I'm talking to when I say it, but this is so second nature to me at this point to just say, correct my perception, please. I'm aware that I'm seeing this wrong. Please let me see this the right way. I used to say, God, please let me see this through your eyes. But since I've kind of started to realize I don't think there's like a big man in the sky, I used to sort of look at it as there is a God and I'm connected to that. Now I realize God is not the God of religion. This was kind of a major realization for me in the last few years. I read the words, God is not the God of religion. I was like, oh my God, this whole time I've been thinking about God, I've still been attaching it in my mind to sort of my Lutheran upbringing, which ended at 13 and was only a few years long. But it was enough to kind of like get it in there. And I realized, oh my God, like this isn't a guy that we're talking to in the sky. God is everything. God is indescribable. It's not a person. So I don't really do that. I don't speak to God as though God is a person anymore, but I do speak to my higher self, and I do just sort of put it out there in the same way. I know that I am not seeing this correctly. I'm not seeing the solution here. This is causing me anxiety and just turmoil. I know I'm not seeing this right. Please, show me what I need to see. Do something for me here. Correct this problem. And it always happens. If I do that, it always happens. I'm not sure if I talked about this here. When I was down to my ideal physical weight, I still was having all kinds of issues with fear of regaining weight and fear that it didn't solve the problems. Like getting the physical appearance that I thought was going to solve a bunch of mental issues for me didn't. It solved the things that it could solve. It solved practical issues related to weight and health and all that stuff. It did not make me feel much better about anything else. And so I had this intention, please, correct this. I don't want to live in fear of gaining weight. I don't want to live constantly thinking about this. I want to be free of this issue that has plagued me my whole life. And one result of that intention was that I gained 25 pounds. heavily against my will, under circumstances that I now realize it was probably unrealistic to think I was going to get through without that happening. But, and of course, it caused me to face the fear of regaining weight and to sort of see that it was a phantom. It wasn't a big deal. 25 pounds isn't a lot of weight to gain, especially when you start out nearly emaciated. So, but regardless, I was beating myself up for that for like the whole last year and a half since it happened. I just kept saying to myself, you could have done better. You didn't need to do that. You didn't need to make the choices that caused you to gain this weight. And it got to the point where I was just starting to feel really depressed. Which, if you're feeling depressed, like, this is a good time to start really heavily communicating with your higher self and God and asking for help, because it will come. It will fix things if you allow it. If you just allow it to happen. Just allow it to happen. And I said, to my higher self, literally, who I kind of see my higher self as me, my human self. I kind of see it as me, but without the physical form, that is seeing all of this from a higher level and isn't subject to the same human failings that I am, if that makes sense. Like, this thing has the answers. And I've been talking to this thing since I was a little kid. And I just said to my higher self, okay, like, you have to do something for me here. I'm in this depressed place. I can't, this is getting really bad, and I can't do anything with this issue from this mental state. Please shift it. And I swear to God, within a few hours, I had the thought that unraveled the whole thing. And this is how it happens a lot of the time. You will just see something differently suddenly. You will have a miraculous, tiny perspective shift. For me, I had the thought, thank God that I was in such good shape, just kind of like thinking about it. It wasn't like I was sitting there ruminating on this whole thing. I was just kind of like going about my daily, I was getting in the shower, saw myself naked in the mirror, and instead of thinking how gross I am, I thought, man, thank God I was in such good physical shape when COVID happened and when I met my fiance, with whom I, ate a lot of crap. And then eventually, when the utter chaos rained down on my life surrounding my dad's sudden lung cancer and death, which is really what did it. I thought, thank God, like, I was like primed and ready. I was in the best place I could have been in to mitigate all of that damage. If I had been in a lower place mentally, if I had been unhealthy in anything other than top physical shape, think how much worse this could have been. And in that moment, I felt this overwhelming sense of gratitude towards my previous self. Instead of sitting around with this voice just beating me up for what had happened, for my choices that I had made, I instead had this view of myself up to that point doing all the right things and basically priming me to be in exactly the right position to handle these major insane things. COVID, oh my God, total insanity. When you look back on that, don't you just think, holy shit, like, if we had seen that coming, oh my God, like, that was enough for people, I think, to be easy on themselves for all the shit that went wrong for people during that time. But then add on top of that I managed to have this huge good event happen. My fiance shows up. That's kind of a big deal. And then my dad, all of this happened in an 8-month period. I did pretty good, actually. And thank God I was in this really good place when it started. And just having that thought started that little process that I just described, that the thought process I just iterated. It started that, and it kind of unraveled the whole depression and all of the shit that was going on with it. In a matter of like a half hour, my perspective on the whole thing had completely changed, and it's been permanently. I am no longer experiencing any of those thoughts. Any of that thing that was like holding me down and making me feel terrible, it's gone. And all you have to do, and again, I should preface this by saying, I've spent 20 years, in these topics, in depth, thinking about all of this stuff, creating stuff in my life deliberately and kind of observing how it happens. And especially the last few years, I've really made an effort to understand myself more and to change things. And, I've really put an effort forth here. So when I say all you have to do, this may be, you may have to work some kinks out. You may have to get to know yourself a little better. I don't want to make it out to seem like everything is a total cakewalk, like all of these other channels do. Sometimes it's not, and this might be a process, but I'll plant the seed right now. All you really have to do is ask for a shift in perspective. Ask for your perception of the thing to be corrected, and you will see solutions to problems that you haven't thought of will come. A thought that changes your perspective completely on something will come. I mean, on the one hand, I'm looking at myself and my life and this 25-pound weight gain as this horrible thing. And then from a different perspective, I'm looking at it as, holy shit, I'm a superstar. Like, I got through this with so little damage where someone else might have been completely decimated. Those are a completely different way, two completely different ways of looking at the same thing. And your experience, my experience of those two things was like night and day. That's really what this stuff is about. And when it comes to getting what you want, it's just, that's all a part of it too. It's not just seeing something a different way so that you don't want it anymore. I want to be clear about that. When you have a desire, I believe it's meant to be fulfilled. I haven't had any experience to the contrary. So, when it's something you're looking at that you want, you'll either get shifted to the point where you genuinely don't look at it as something desirable anymore, which is just as good as getting it. It's better, I think. Realizing you don't really want something is so much better than getting it and then realizing you don't want it, I think. But more likely, you'll see the thing you want differently, or you'll see whatever is happening in relation to the thing you want differently, and it will open up a pathway for you to get that thing. It's only good news here. Like, that's really the bottom line. I think it's part of why I'm making this channel. Like, dude, it's all good. It's all good. Everything that seems like it isn't good is an illusion. It's a misperception. And so I hope you can use this. This ended up being a lot longer than I intended for it to be. But really, you can use this in the moment. I would not personally start to use this constantly. When you need to, ask for a shift in perspective. Just you don't even have to ask. Just let it be known that that is what needs to happen right now, and you will get it. It will come in some form or another. A thought in your head, perceiving something differently, perceiving something that's been there that you didn't even see. It's a miracle the way this stuff plays out. And I hope that helps somebody. Have a great day.